That's their mic is on. Refresh the page. Get the cast open now. That looks pretty good. A little blurry, but that's fine. Volume down. Copy the link. Live streams. Okay, we'll go to this. Go down to live links. Oh, that's not the correct title for the thing. I'll need to fix that. Alright, can I edit this as we go? Oh, I have an active community guideline strike. What could that be about? Okay, live. So it should be live now. Yeah, here we go. No, not for kids. Save. Okay, now what's this strike that I have? Shouldn't have a strike going. Odd. So I'll just command V. Alright. So, side screen is open. We have 3 minutes. Oh no, I like it better without it. It's less. It doesn't. Oh no, the keyboard's got lights under it. It's very nice. Okay, let's make sure I have enough storage for the hard recording. Select, done. Good. Delete that. Alright, should be pretty much good to go. Alright, audio is good. Should be almost ready to go. Hopefully. Brazil, live now. Good. Alright, just waiting. that. Good, 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 good. Might want to have all everything ready. Alright, looks like we're getting the readying up, which should be good. Just make sure nothing is downloading in the background. Nope, we are good. Look, guys, we'll be back next week. Very good to hear. 15 seconds. Hard recording started. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third round of the MMeS season here at the Jose Carlos Pache circuit in Sao Paulo, Brazil, one of the best circuits that the world has to offer here. Third round of the season, which has been a very interesting season so far. We got 18 drivers on the grid. It should be a fun one tonight on the track that's one of the fastest and one of the most exciting tracks on schedule. And always the threat of rain as well. As you can tell, it looks a very cloudy day at the moment, which I think we probably should have a dry session, at least for qualifying. That would be very helpful, at least. It's always fun to see, at least in the dry, who has the best setups and whatnot. That's very important, because if we do get into a wet weather race session, it will be very more, difficult to see. So we'll wait and find out what happens there. Who's going to be our first driver out on track? Third round of the season, first round being taken by Macho and Hungry Caesar last week in Japan, which was a very entertaining race to say the least. A little bit of calamity there at the end, could have had a couple of different winners, but Caesar walked away with it. Brazil this week, Miami next time out, and then Imola the round after. A couple of good tracks on schedule coming up here. Still yet to have anybody out on track. 17 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the qualifying session. I'm a little surprised to see we're not getting anybody out on track this quickly. I'm just wondering if perhaps we do have anyone here. Appreciate the support there, Spaceman. Thank you. If you are, good luck today. We do have, what is this? This is the Williams coming out on track. It should be... It's going to be that of Cynical in the Williams. Weather shows sunny, but 15% chance in both sessions. That doesn't seem to me like it's enough to warrant, panic for rain. Of course, we could see some, but yeah, not really enough for me to if I was driving, it wouldn't be enough for me to say put on a wet weather setup and try to get a good. At least handling car. Usually in the qualifying sessions like this, you'll see drivers kind of put on a much more quick setup, a lot more understeer, get the straight line speed. But maybe if there was weather involved, you'd see them set it up a little bit more downforce, as Anime has been disqualified for blocking the pit lane already, which is slightly odd. Did he just forget that the session was going or something? Maybe did his pedals disconnect? That sort of thing does happen. Very odd circumstance there. He had only just made it out of the pit lane, and then the game said, no, you've been sat there too long. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but it looks like Cynical is going to be our first driver out on track. I'll get the map open here. Should be a relatively quick lap, this, and somewhere in the 110s during the race. Bit of a slide there coming out of turn 12. He'll have DRS once he makes his way out of turn 15 here. Lap's going to start. Should be a quick one down the hill into the Air and Senna corners. The Senna S is the first two. It's a very interesting corner, this, because not only are you downhill, the track also drops away from you once you get to the second one. It's a tricky one with track limits as well. Through Curva do Sol, turn 3. Exits DRS activated. Should be, I think, at least into the 200-mile-an-hour range by the time you get to turn 4. 198, so not that bad. Exits the corner, gotta watch for track limits there. And then as you go up the hill, exiting turn 5 into turns 6, 7, and 8. It's a tricky one, this, because a lot of the times you want to put more power than you really can get down, and then sometimes, often, we'll see drivers make mistakes through there, and a lot of the times it ends up in them crashing out of the race, so it could be very difficult. If perhaps we do get some adverse weather, typically that'll definitely wash away any of the rubber that the cars have laid down, and we'll get very slippery out there. Cynical has gone purple sector 2, as you would probably imagine, first car out on track. He's rounding turn 15 now, or turn 14. Across the line he goes into the mid-109s. It's a 109-170. Very solid lap there already. Breezy has gone second. It's a 111.5, which is not a bad lap to start with. Lancey's gone 108.943. That's a very good attempt here from the Dutchman, who 10 minutes ago said he was washed. Doesn't seem quite washed to me, has to be said. That is a very good lap there. As we get the rest of the final queue coming around here, Caesar's gone second. Slayer 4th. Looks like Ghost has gone 5th. And I believe next up the Red Bull of Favre going 3rd. Not a bad lap from him. 108.954. One of the drivers that every once in a while I get a driver that I'm not really too familiar with. Of course, I've done over 150 Grand Prix cast across 4 different leagues at this point since the year of 2021. Sometimes you still do get people that I have no idea who they are. Or what, but if you look at that, first of all, that is a 1/1000th of a second difference between the top 2, 11 1/1000ths separating the top 3. That is about as close of a gap you can get to start with here. That is absolutely ridiculous. So we are going to get, and I'm thinking, and this is interesting here, if I pull up the telemetry here on the left-hand side of the leaderboard, you can see it's that little plus/minus symbol. That's telling me those times were actually identical. And Lancey's only got in the top spot because Caesar's put his lap in second. So, identical times from last week's race winner and the very talented Dutchman of Lancey here for the first round of quali runs here. That is, sometimes, I mean, that is one of the more rare sights we see. A lot of cars coming to the pit lane now. I believe one of the Ferraris on their way in. Well, P. Gonzalez going through Sector 1. He's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. He's got Spaceman, I think V in the Aston Martin as well. To the line now is the Ferrari. I believe it was Gab who's just gone 5th. That's a pretty good lap from him. A 109.109. That sounds slightly repetitive, but that's what his time was. Next up, one of the Alpine drivers is going to be Mazda on his way into the pits. Currently sits 6.5 of a second off of the pole time. 6 1/1000 separate him from P8 of Ghost. Very competitive here in the early goings. 12 minutes to go here with the Dutchman Lancey on the top spot already. He has decided to try another attempt here. At least he stayed out on track for one additional lap. I'm assuming he's going to come in at the end of this one. Next up behind him, Gab's going to be on the way, and I believe the other Alfa Romeo of Breezy's making his way. And, well, I think he was going quicker through Sector 1, but I think maybe did he have a bit of a spill going through Turn 3. It could very much be the possibility. It's a difficult corner to get right, and I'm assuming that was the case. Gab coming into the pit lane now. I believe next up is the Aston Martin of Spaceman, yet to put together a time. He hasn't validated his lap, however. I'm assuming that was probably on exit of turn 11. It's a tricky one to get right because naturally the car, as it's rounding that very quick corner, wants to push to the outside and just didn't have the lateral grip to actually keep the car there. So we'll probably try another lap now. In the first corner he goes, down the hill through the first section of the track. Exits turn 3, at least have clear track ahead of him now, which will be helpful. To the line next up was one of the Alfa Romeos. I believe it was Lancey who I believe finished the time lap. He might be on his way in. Well, I thought he was going to be on the way in the last time. No, he stayed out an additional lap here. Perhaps as he put enough fuel for, you know, his first primary run, a cool-down lap, which is what he's probably done, and then another one here. Well, he's about 2.5 tenths slower, so that is not quite going to help him for the time being, and there's not a lot of places really to make up any more time on this track unless you have made a critical mistake. There's not a lot of room for error, so I'm assuming this lap is not really going to finish itself out here for the Dutchman. 10 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. Coming out of the pit lane now looks to be one of the Alpine drivers. I believe it's that of Mazda guy who's on his way out. In front of him, it's the Williams of Cynical. Currently 9/100ths of a second faster through Sector 1. That's a pretty good start time for him. Currently resides 2.5 tenths off of the pole time for the time being, up through turns 6, 7, and 8 now. Looks pretty good, but he's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. Hopefully they don't get in his way. Through turn 10 now, looks pretty good. Again, he has clear track. It appears that the Aston Martin's gotten out of the way for him. That was the Aston Martin of V, who currently sits 4th. That's a really good lap from him. I'm actually slightly surprised. One of those drivers that has relatively came out of nowhere here. Sometimes you'll see that sort of thing. As Slayerized in the Haas goes P6. And Cynical across the line now. He will go provisional pole, 1:08.846. That is the fastest time by just over a tenth just under a tenth there back to Lancey. So that's a good time. Currently the top 7 separated by 3.5 tenths. That's well, I mean, if you wanted a competitive race here, that is probably what you're going to get now. As the even the first second is down to P11 out of the 18, 17 now that we have on track. Around the line now looks to be the Red Bull of Ghost. He'll be starting a new one here. Into the first section of corners he go. It looks as if his teammate has gotten out of the way for him there. Sometimes you'll see drivers, you know, hook up a bit of that slipstream going down the straight. That's not what the Red Bull guys have done here, as Ghost is about 4/100ths slower through the first sector, which would tell me that that car is more set up for the slow-speed corners yet to come here in Sector 2. We'll have to wait and see. For the time being, 9th, 7.5 tenths off of the pole time, which is really, when you think about it, not a bad time to have on the board, but with how many other drivers are in that window, it's slightly concerning for Ghost here. If he doesn't improve by another 3-4 tenths of a second, he won't get a good starting spot here, with now 11 drivers within the second of the pole time, as V has gone P2, now within 4/100ths of a second of the top spot. So the top 4 drivers, first 2 rows of the grid within a tenth, and then the Red Bull of Favre in P5, not far behind either. Very competitive here. Ghost is about a tenth of a second slower through Sector 2 across the line. Well, he is faster by 8/100ths, so he must have had a good Sector 3 there, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough to improve on the leaderboards so far. Next up, the McLaren of Jacob starting one now. He's actually chosen the medium tires. That's a little bit of an interesting choice there. You know, sometimes what we'll see is we'll see the drivers put the medium tires on the first run, you know, to kind of get some reconnaissance as far as how the track is going to act and how the car is going to react. His teammate of Zach has gone 12th, now within 8.5 tenths of the pole time, but it's interesting to have his second run here being on the medium tires with 7 minutes to go. This is going to be his second to last timed run here. The only driver so far to set a time on the medium tires. Matter of fact, his time that he has on the board now was set on the softs. So being on the mediums now, that is a very bold decision from him. I'm actually quite interested as to why he's chosen to do that. Very odd to say the least. 6.5 minutes remaining now. We do have, well, it looks as if one of the Alfa Romeos making their way down the pit straight now. Lancey's on his way in, and I believe was there perhaps a little bit of a something going on there with Lancey and perhaps the Red Bull behind of, who was it, of Ghost. Something, those two were side by side going through turn 14, so something must have happened there, and unfortunately that's gotten to the end of Lancey's lap. 6 minutes to go. Favre to the line. Wow, and it's provisional pole for Favre, 1:08.723. That's one we didn't see coming. Wow. And he's put a tenth, nearly a tenth and a half back to Cynical. for the top spot. That is a very great attempt there for the Red Bull team. The Red Bull team, which is also still the lead of the constructor standings. Let's take a look at that now. As I've got pinged in the race chat here, dry qualifying and race. Thank you very much, DB to Best. Current Constructors' Championship goes like this. Red Bull lead the way by 10 points entering tonight. 81 to AlphaTauri, 71. Williams 66, Haas 53. McLaren and Mercedes tied for 5th at 53. Aston Martin in 7th at 49. They lead Ferrari by 1. Alpine in P9 at 37, and Alfa Romeo at 13. So, after going into the third round of the season, still some really good battling yet to take place here. As we look again, Miami next week, Imola the week after that. And then Baku the third round after that on April the 8th. Slayer Eyes now. Well, this is interesting. Slayer Eyes, we're along with the Haas now, disqualified from the session for blocking the pit lane. Now, this is the same thing that happened with the Alpine of Anime earlier in the session. In fact, way earlier in the session, as Caesar goes provisional pole, 108.662, goes 6/100ths clear of Favre. Still, that is a very odd thing we've got going here. That is now the second driver. The second driver to be disqualified from the session in that manner. That is a very odd turn of events, and again, I'm not really sure what the cause is from these disqualifications. I don't know if they're just error, or they've got cars in the way and they're trying to maybe create some room to the car in front. I don't really know. That is a very odd situation. As we now have the Red Bull of Ghost coming out on track now. Gaz is on his way, making his way through turn 9 now. Only a couple of drivers on timed attempts. Spaceman doesn't appear to be on one. Matter of fact, he's chosen... Well, he's on the soft tires. I tell you what, I thought I saw a tread there for a minute. P. Gonzalez has spun going through turn 2 here. To the inside of the circuit, has kind of found the escape road. He's playing hide-and-go-seek now, as it turns out, because he is well off the track. A couple of more drivers making their way out here. About 3.5 minutes left to go. 3 minutes and 15 seconds remain here. Lancey, the Dutchman, P5 at the moment. Only 0.3 of a second separate the top 5. The first second expands down to P11. Zach has only just fallen out of that. He's 1.048 behind the pole time. Caesar currently occupies the top spot. Favre second. And Lancey, I think, about to start one here shortly. Again, what he may have decided to do is taken enough fuel on board to have 2 timed lap attempts, which we don't see much of anymore. Maybe he's, put one together and then eventually is going to have a little bit of a time for a cool-down lap and then start another one. Well, he's got 2.5 minutes to do so, as P. Gonzalez, the driver who, as we just saw not long ago, spin coming out of turn 2, he'll be on his way in here. That may be the end of his session. Favre second, making his way through turn 10. He's on an outlap now. V in the Aston Martin making his way through turn 12. So he'll be up to go here shortly. Lancey now through turn 3. Down the stretch, DRS activated here. Let's see his top speed. And he's going to hit 199 into the braking zone. Pretty good. It's a purple sector 1 here for the Dutchman. 2 minutes remain. Up the hill through turns 6, 7, and 8 now. And it looks like the Aston Martin V is slightly slow going through turn 3 there. I'm not really sure. Favre is the currently second-place driver out on track now. Has chosen to not start a timed attempt now, which is interesting. We've only got 90 seconds remaining in the session here. I'm a little surprised to see this many drivers kind of wait until the last minute. Usually, you want the good track position and you want the clean air in front of you. That's not the case, at least for the couple of them currently on their way. Lancey making his way through 14 and 15 now. Uses all of the circuit there down to the inside, and across the line he's going to go. It's provisional pole, 108.381. Puts about 0.3 of a second back to Caesar there in second. Showtime Favre, who I believe is not on the timed attempt, but he had the car, that was the AlphaTauri of, it wasn't Red 92 Mask, I don't think. Yeah, no, it must have been, because that was very interesting there. I got a couple of drivers kind of fleeing out of position here, thinking that this AlphaTauri is on a timed attempt. Not necessarily the case. 45 seconds remain now. So Favre starting one now. Caesar on his way into turn 4. Curva do Sol. Or, no, I didn't get that right, did I? I don't know. There are corner names to this track. I don't know them off the top of my head. As Gonzalez is retired. Now, that is coming out of turn 4. If we go along with Cynical here, and I think maybe has that been done on track. It's tough to tell, because that is a very odd section of the track to go off in. So, yeah, I'm not too sure with that one. 15 seconds or less now, down to 10. Can Lancey finish off a good lap here? No, and I tell you what, Lancey is slow through Sector 2 by nearly 10 seconds. He's not going to get enough time to put together another one here. No, he's not. The time has expired now. Lancey into the pit lane. His day is done. Caesar making his way down the pit straight now. What kind of time does he put together? And it's a 108.390. Improves by nearly 0.3 of a second. 9/1000ths behind the provisional pole time as Funky Breezy, I think, retires on track there. The Haas coming around the line now. This is DJE Flat making his way up to 4th. 108.845. Improves by a lot of time there. Next to the line was the McLaren of Zach. He's gone P12. The Williams of Cynical. 108.257. Is improved by quite a lot there, and it's provisional pole for the Williams. Does anybody else have something to disagree with? Red 92 Mask goes 9th. Behind him, the Red Bull of, I believe that was Favre, has gone P4. Next up was that of Jacob. He's gone 5th. After that was the Ferrari of Gab, who's gone 8th. And the final driver is that of Gazboy to the line. Oh, there was contact there. Well, that McLaren of Zach, I think, has made contact with somebody there. He's missing the front wing. I'm not too sure, but it is that of Cynical, your pole sitter for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Ahead of Lancey by about 1/10.5 there. Lancey and Caesar separated by 10/1000ths. Cynical, the Williams on pole. Your starting grid then, Cynical on pole, Lancey second, ahead of Caesar by 9/1000ths of a second. In third, Favre is 4th, Jacob 5th, Flat is 6th after his final attempt, V is P7, 8th is Gab, 9th is Gazboy, 10th, Red 92 Mask, rounding out the top 10. The first 9 cars separated by a second. What a competitive session that was. Zach 12th, Mazda Guy 13th, Funky Breezy 14th, Spaceman 15th, Gonzalez 16th, and unfortunately for Slayerized and Anime, they were both disqualified from the session after blocking the pit lane exit. We're not really sure why that's the case, but either way it's happened. Cynical on pole, but will he be able to keep it? This will be a good time now to get your race picks in if you've got nothing else to do. I'm not entirely sure if we... Well, it does appear... Stream health, what does this mean? What does this mean? Stream is healthy. I do not know what that is supposed to mean, but that's what it says. Well, anyways, now here we are in Brazil. Apologies about this slightly poor quality. I do realize it's in 720, but I just wanted to make sure that we were going to get at least a consistent picture to your screen. So I think you could probably be okay with 720 at 60 frames a second. I think that'd probably be okay. Anything more than that, well, I don't know. The other night we did 1080 at 30, and that was pretty fine. I'm thinking, though, 1080 at 60 might be possible. I'll have to try that out perhaps on Wednesday for the CCRL race. Not entirely sure. Well, this Session 4 class is all clouds all the way across. Very good, Spaceman. Appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time out of your racing day here to drop that in the chat. Very much appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time to invite us into your homes here for this third round of the season. They're at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in Sao Paulo, Brazil, one of the best racing circuits in the world. This track held its first World Championship Grand Prix in 1973. Emerson Fittipaldi winning in 73 and 74. Carlos Pache winning in 75. I agree, my favorite track. I tell you what, this is definitely a favorite on a lot of people's lists, and, well, I have to agree with that. This race taking place on the 3rd of November, 227 days away. And it looks as if... Is this the formation lap, or are we going straight to it here? I don't know. We might be going straight to it. Nope, formation lap underway. Okay, that was slightly odd. I did not get the message saying that this was the formation lap. The formation lap underway now. Let's see what tires people have chosen to go on here. It looks as if the majority have chosen the mediums. A couple of takers for the hard tires, which is never surprising. We do typically see drivers take those hard tires. Cynical in the mediums, Lancey on the hards. That's going to be an interesting one. The second driver on the grid here choosing the off-compounded tires, knowing that the 5 drivers around you, timing-wise, very, very similar. Lancey is going to be in a very difficult spot here. He's a talented driver, no doubt to what he can accomplish behind the steering wheel, but he may be in a difficult one here. As well as Flat there in P6, also on the hard tires. Gab choosing the hards as well. So does Red 92 Mask. One driver taking the softs. That'll be that of P. Gonzalez. Slayer Eyes, and Anime Boy at the back of the grid taking the hards as well. So Cynical now making his way. Well, as I think I've got pinged here. No, the Midwest Planning Discord is doing things. Cynical making his way through turn 12 now. Jun Chao turn 12, I believe it's called. Making his way to the grid. Lancey will have the, I think Lancey will have the inside lane into this first corner. Going to be a difficult one. He's going to get off the grid well. Gets a lot of heat into those tires. You know, being on those hard compound tires, it's going to be very tricky, but he will have the inside line. That'll at least be good getting into turn 1. He'll have the outside through 2, but the inside once again going through 3. This is really one of the only tracks where the inside lane, I think, is at a big advantage, really. So we'll have to wait and see what happens as the final couple of cars on the grid forming up here. 21 to 23 in medium to soft. 19 to 27 hard to medium, according to the game. That's useful information. Apparently no rain in sight, but as we're on the grid now, the lights should be turning on here. I can't quite see the lights, but there's 5 of them. And for the 3rd time this season in the Monkey Mafia Esports Series, they are off, and it looks as if Cynical has gotten a good start here. Lancey, as we kind of predicted, didn't get away as well, but has done pretty okay there as they go into the first corner. The Red Bull of Showtime down to the inside. I think he's gotten around Caesar off the start here. A lot of contact at the back. We've got several cars gone around. One of the Williams drivers, it's Gazboy there. I believe one of the Haas drivers, it's that of DJ, missing a bit of front wing. Oh, and that's a heavy collision. Such a heavy collision, in fact, that he's gone through the wall on the inside. That's going to be a fun one to look back. Safety car not on track. We stay green for now. Cynical still has the top spot. It looks as if V has gotten around the McLaren of Jacob there for only the time being as they make their way through Sector 2. Couple of drivers, I would assume, having some wing damage here. To the inside, looks Spaceman on that of Anime Boy through turn 9. Not quite enough room for a move there as we look at the Williams of Gazboy also losing the front wing on the opening dilemma there. Cynical making his way into Jun Chao turn 12 as he exits the corner. He's got an 8.5 of a second advantage over Lancey as they make their way through turns of 14 and 15. Caesar making his way now, 7.5 of a second behind Lancey for the second spot. Senecal the fastest lap, naturally, as you will. Favre not far behind, only 4.5, but Jacob looking to make the move here on the Aston Martin as they go through turns 1 and 2. He'll look probably to the inside as they make their way. No, he's going to choose the outside out of turn 3 as they make their way down the stretch here. Does he choose to make anything happen? It's a 10.5. He's not quite going to be close enough, but he is right on the rear wing of that on the back of the Aston Martin. That is a good place to be, as Favre still trying to hunt down Caesar here as they make their way up the hill through turns 6, 7, and into turn 8. So 3 cars pitting here. Funky, Breezy, Gonzalez, and Gazboy, the 3 who I'm assuming was involved in the opening lap incident there, the opening corner incident. As the Williams of Senecal has held the lead here on the opening start. Matter of fact, the top 4 have held position. Showtime Favre was ahead of Caesar for a time being. The Mercedes has gotten the spot back at some point, as you can see. Favre now within 2.5 of Caesar here as they make their way through turns 14 and 15. Matter of fact, Caesar's going to have a look to the inside of Lancey. This is for the second spot. Favre looking on, hoping that somebody makes a mistake ahead, and Caesar will get the second spot. Lancey, again, on the hard tires, will have difficulty with grip here in the opening stages. Ghost getting around Gab into the first corner. I believe Jacob got around the Aston Martin of V as well. They will have DRS here as they make their way in towards Dolago corner. I think that's the name of it. I have a track map with corner names. Why am I not using this right now? Because it's just easier to have the laptop screen open and not the other one there. Caesar kind of being pushed a little bit wide there, maybe having some understeer on the way up the hill through turns 6 and 7. Managed to hold on to the car. Oh no, I was right. That was Dolago corner. Well, I have the track map open now. I've got 3 screens here. I've got the main feed as Favre down to the inside of Lancey through Biga de Pato, the Ducks Beak corner of turn 10. Jacob may, well, it looks as if he's left the session. No, he's joined back. Perhaps a temporary little thing happening there with the McLaren, but through Jun Chao they go. Exiting the corner, Senecal has the lead still. Caesar second, and Showtime Favre third. The top 3, a 1.5 difference between each other, as Lancey trying to have DRS here back to Favre. As a matter of fact, Jacob may have a fair opportunity as they make their way into turn 1. No, he's not going to be quite close enough this time. I'm assuming exiting Curva do Sol, he'll have a better chance. And as they exit Curva do Sol, here's George Mazdaguy within a couple of tenths of Gab here for the 8th spot. Looking ahead, that is a... Well, I thought it was going to be a move being made there from Ghost. As it turns out, I was probably looking at a different set of cars, but they're going to file their way through Sector 1. Senecal still leads. And I tell you what, Caesar, I would have argued, was one of the faster cars there who wasn't named Senecal or in a Williams. And, well, for the time being, he's kind of staying stagnant, not necessarily improving to the back of Senecal here. Matter of fact, he's lost. Well, since I guess since the lap has started, he's gained back a couple of tenths of a second, but not enough yet to get within DRS range through Jun Chao. Making their way, Favre now within DRS range of Caesar. Although he doesn't have it, he was behind that second gap as they made their way through the detection zone coming out of turn 13. Favre with the fastest lap so far. Down the hill they go, the Senna S's. Curva do Sol up next. V in the Aston Martin may have a fair look here. He's not quite close enough, although 0.2 of a second, I tell you what, if he can get a good exit, as Jacob has not had the good exit there as he makes his way out of turn 5, that was. Up the hill they go. Jacob losing time back to Lancey now, I would say under pressure from V here. Not quite close enough to make something happen, but I tell you what, that Aston Martin is definitely breathing down the neck of the McLaren ahead. So much so that Jacob has lost time back to Lancey. About a second and a half the gap is now. But we do have now 3 cars battling for the second spot. Caesar behind Cynical by about 2 seconds here. Favre behind Caesar by about 7/10. And Lancey behind Favre by about 7/10. So a good 3-car battle here amongst 4 of the quickest drivers on the grid. No real convincing looks from anybody this time. V got within about a 10th of Jacob there going into turn 1, but not quite close enough as Jacob a 3-second time penalty. And that was, I think, for, as I look at the replay here, yep, he's taken too much curb going through the second portion of the Senna S. To the outside looks Favre, and then he'll switch back to the inside as Caesar pushes up the track exiting Dolago. He'll have the outside now, although trying to push on that outside in this part of the track is just simply not going to happen, I'm afraid. Not a bad look there from Favre, but I tell you what, this track is a very difficult circuit. As much as we appreciate it because of its overtaking opportunities, you do still need to work for them. DRS is obviously very easy, but even with DRS down into turn 4, it's not that easy of a corner to overtake on, considering how much room there is. I mean, there's a lot of wiggle room there. And then going into turn 1, it's not an easy spot either. So if you're going to make a move happen, you got to work for it. Here we have now Favre within 2/10 here of Caesar. To the outside he goes. Heading down the pit straight. Favre still with the outside, and he'll have him cleared by the time they get back to the start-finish line. Lancey now will have an opportunity to come knocking at the door of Caesar as they exit Curva del Sol here. Oh, that was a big wiggle from Caesar that time. A lot of oversteer on the inside. He took too much of the curb. And I think, that's Gab is retired. And that is exiting Curva del Sol, right in the middle of it, actually, way off to the outside. Can we go along with Spaceman to see? You could probably just have a look there. Somewhere to the outside. That's where that car had gone off. Very, I don't want to say unorthodox place to go off track, but that car must have shot violently to the outside to go off in that portion. And, the safety car on track here for the first time. Of course, we did have DJ lose it on the first lap. And he lost it massively into the barriers, actually clipped through them. That's how hard he hit. And the field started at 18. We are down to 16 here, as we're about to begin the 8th lap of the Grand Prix. Now, what do we decide to do with tires? I think it's probably too early for those to go from mediums to hards here. That would kind of be my concern. Cynical, I highly doubt, would chance it now. Those medium tires are still going to be pretty well, but he does decide to come in. That's a little bit of a surprise. Favre goes in. Lancey comes in as well. Now, Lancey's going to go probably to another set of, a set of mediums here. That's going to help him. Jacob stays out on track, one of the drivers choosing not to pit on the current medium tires. V doing that as well. Ghost has got a 5-second penalty for a collision with Red 92 Mask, and I believe that was on their way into the pit lane. Perhaps was there a bit of a concertina effect there on the way in, or the accordion effect, as we call it in the American side of the world. But front wing change going on for Red 92 Mask, and I'm going to have to believe that was the case. So a relatively mixed bag here. Not everybody choosing to come in. Matter of fact, 2, 4, 6 drivers choosing not to stop. The top 5, Jacob, V, Mazda Guy, Slayerized, and Anime Boy there. By the way, Anime Boy and Slayerized now up to 4th and 5th after starting with P17 and P18. This is interesting here. Caesar has chosen the intermediate tires. That is a little bit of a bold choice. I don't think that's on purpose. I would hope not, because we got confirmation from at least 2 drivers saying that the race was going to be dry. I don't know, that's a little odd. Hopefully that's just a mistake, but safety car on track now. Jacob has the lead. The majority of those stopping have actually taken another set of mediums, so Cynical, who started on the medium tires, goes to another set of mediums. Favre has gone to the hards. He won't need to worry about stopping a second time. Lancey's taken the medium. Caesar, for whatever reason, has chosen the intermediates. I do not know why that's happened. I'm assuming he's going to pit here again shortly. But Cynical having to choose the bold 2-stop strategy. He started mediums. He's gone mediums here again, as Caesar, yes, this time, will be into the pit lane. So he will tumble down the grid, but the 6 drivers having not stopped, the top 5 plus that of Spaceman there in 9th. Safety car out on track here. Jacob leads after having stayed out. He's on a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. We caught on with that one. That was going down through turn 2 a couple of laps ago. Ghost and Red 92 Mask each picking up 5-second penalties for collisions with each other on their way into the pit lane. Assuming the safety car will probably make its way in either at the end of this lap or the end of next. Not entirely sure. Got the Ferrari of Gonzalez, who I believe has he pit a second time here. Yes, he has. This is his second stop. Perhaps did he do the old, pit once and then throw on a set of tires you don't care about and then stop a second time to get back onto the preferred tire. That's probably what Gonzalez has done. You don't see that trick be played too often anymore, but it does still happen, and when it works, it's great. Safety car still on track. We've lost 2. We've lost DJ and we've lost Gab. Gab having crashed just a couple of laps ago, which brought out the safety car, and then DJ crashing in the beginning. Again, hit so hard that he clipped through the barrier, exiting Curva del Sol turn 3. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have to go back to the beginning of the race and watch that, because that was a nasty hit. Equal to Romain Grosjean, I would assume, just without the fire. Although I'm assuming you could throw some cheap fire effects on there and it looked pretty good. But Jacob's still the lead here. V second, Mazda Guy third, Slayrized fourth, Anime Boy fifth. Remember, these two here of Slayrized and Anime Boy were disqualified from the qualifying session, having blocked the exit of the pit lane, which we still don't really know why that was the case. But those two drivers started P17 and P18 and now have made their way up the order here. Who can send messages? Anyone, subscribers. Slow mode, we don't need slow mode, do we? Not enough people for slow mode. Gaming, game title. Can we put in F123 would be helpful. F123, 2023. Save, very good. Okay, so about to make their way into Sector 3. I would assume the safety car is going to come in here probably at the end of this lap. Restart the hard recording. Here we go. Do we get the confirmation? Yes, safety car in this time. Remember, Jacob, V, Mazda Guy, Slayrized, and Anime have yet to stop here. Gonzalez has pit twice, as well as that of Caesar, who had inadvertently put on the intermediate tires in the dry conditions. Remember, it's supposed to stay dry throughout the session here, so that was a bit of an odd one. But about to begin the 11th lap of the Grand Prix, about to be a third of the way through this race here. Jacob will lead them back to green. Let's see if V has any move down to the inside. It's probably not going to happen this time. Mazda Guy didn't really get close either, but behind. Cynical nearly had a look at Anime Boy into the first corner. Oh, the other Alpine, Mazda Guy's gone wide. Side by side here, the two Alpines. Cynical's going to try to go through the middle. It will get Mazda Guy there, and now we'll have a look down to the inside of Anime Boy as we have an accident at the back. It looks as if Funky Breezy may have had something. Showtime Farb getting around George Mazda Guy. I tell you what, the Alpines have not had a very good start here. To the inside now is Favre. He will get the spot over Anime Boy, and I tell you what, Mazda Guy had gone quite deep through the first corner and had lost positions there, not necessarily immediately. Oh, as Anime Boy, that's Mazda Guy spinning off way to the inside. Well, he's picked up 10 seconds for corner cutting, as, well, he could probably get that one removed from the stewards. But, yeah, that was a massive slide there. And he has picked up 10 seconds of penalty for sliding from one corner to the other. Unfortunate for him, but that is how it's happened. Making their way out of turn 13 now. Looks as if Cynical's going to have a look at Slayrized here around the outside. Remember, Slayrized has yet to stop it. He's made that one happen. Favre doing the same. Can he look to get around Cynical as well, getting in the first corner? This is eventually going to be a battle for the lead of the Grand Prix between these two. Remember, Cynical still has to pit an additional time here. He started on the mediums. He has stopped and put on an additional set of the medium tires, so he will have to go one more time into the pit lane here for one more compound of tire. Cynical to the inside now. Didn't quite have the room to make it happen. Still looking for it. back to the Aston Martin. Favre as well, doing as best he can. We do have Red 92 Mask very close to Anime Boy here. Up the hill through turns 6, 7, and 8, and Red 92 Mask does get the spot there again. A very unconventional part of the circuit to try to make something happen, and he's done just that. Mazda guy getting around Spaceman there. I think that may have been an error on the behalf of the Aston Martin. Not entirely sure. Some good battles happening up and down this grid here. Not quite halfway through. That'll be at lap 19. As we do have Lancey within a couple of tenths here of Showtime Favre, but ahead Cynical now looking to slice his way through the field. It's like a hot knife through butter. And to the inside goes Cynical. He's up, what is that, 4 positions since the start of the green flag window here, but V trying to force his way back on the outside. He breaks early, almost in the way of the Red Bull. Almost a bit of a accordion effect there, almost several drivers getting into each other, and somehow everybody stays okay. Exiting Curva del Sol. To the inside now is Favre, as Mazda guy, a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Cynical also trying to find a move on Jacob, that being for the top spot. Favre and V were side by side, and I'm just going to look on my side-by-side screen here. I think that was an okay overtake. V may have claimed that Favre kind of pushed him wide, but Favre, on my initial looking, really kept him, gave him enough space to the outside there, and the Aston Martin really pushed wide. So less than a second and a half separate the top 5 drivers. Been a very entertaining race so far, and again, Cynical now has Favre down to the inside through turn 11 into Jun Chao, turn 12. DRS is activated now. They'll get it coming out of turn 15 very shortly here. The top 4 all within DRS range of each other. Down the pit straight they go. Cynical looks to the inside as well as Lancey on Favre. Cynical will get the spot over Jacob. Lancey gonna try to push it to the outside. That's a bold one. Can Lancey hold the outside line? It'll be brilliant if he does. And to take the lead of the Grand Prix, Lancey with a double overtake making his way. Actually, when you think about that, that's nearly a triple overtake, isn't it? I need to scroll back the footage there. That's how good of a move that was. Down the pit straight they go, not the pit straight, as, whoa, it's a big jumble of cars there, as Ghost down to the inside of, what is that, the Haas of Slayerized. And I'm just trying to kind of have a look at the move performed there by Lancey. He started that out in P4. Started that out, made the overtake of Favre as Jacob and Cynical battled ahead, got to the inside of Favre, saw the opening there, got through the middle between Jacob and Cynical, a triple overtake for Lancey to take the lead of the Grand Prix. And, well, if that one doesn't get on the highlight reel, I don't know what will. Brilliant, brilliant move there from the Dutchman. As now making his way out of turn 15 here, about to begin the 15th lap of the race. Oh, and it looks like we have a yellow flag at the back. Funky Breezy has gone off. A Spaceman picks up 3 seconds for time penalty. Funky Breezy's had a bit of a spin somewhere. Gonzalez, oh, well, Gonzalez got around the outside of Anime, but on the way into the first corner, Anime missed his braking zone and really clobbered the left rear tire there of P. Gonzalez and then hits him again. And that time, Gonzalez will lose several spots. He'll go from P10 all the way down to P13 there. I tell you what, Anime Boy will have some explaining to do with the stewards there. Gazboy now losing position to Gonzalez. It's a kind of a 3-car battle up the hill here through turns 6 and 7. Gonzalez down to the inside. He'll get on Anime Boy. Zach has picked up an additional 3-second penalty. Sorry, no, that's his first one. I was thinking of Jacob, the other McLaren. Really good battling happening here as Mazda guy retires, that being in the pit lane, having 15 seconds of penalty, 10 of which I think he probably could have gotten taken off. So, a bit of a shame for him, but his day is done. So down the pit straight they go. Lancey leads, starting the 16th lap of the Grand Prix, getting very close to halfway here. Favre within a couple of tenths of Cynical for second place, as Ghost getting down the inside of Slayer Eyes. Well, actually, yeah, Ghost has done that one quite well, has taken the 7th spot. Gazboy to the outside, we're looking at Gonzalez and Caesar right now, side by side through the Senna S's, and it's done well there for the Ferraris. A yellow flag ahead. It is the robot of George Mazda guy making his way back out on track for whatever reason. Anime Boy into the pit lane. It's a front wing change for him. As up the hill, Lancey will lead the procession. As Gazboy was retired and the safety car on track. Now what's happened there is Gazboy has run into the back of the George Mazda guy, the robot, who retired in the pit lane, has come out on track. And Gazboy has run clean into the back end of him, and the safety car on track now for the second time. And that is, well, I would say unusual, but I have seen that one before. Matter of fact, it was a couple of seasons ago. I think about 6 seasons ago in the Midwest F1 League, we saw that happen with a, I believe, a driver named Electric Blade, who very similarly had a car retire in the pit lane. The robot came out on track and ran into the back of him whilst under green flag conditions. Showtime Favre stays on track. Remember, he started on the mediums, pit for the hards. He's good on strategy for now. Lancey comes in here, having started on the hards and gone to the mediums. He will go to another set of mediums here. Cynical now fulfilling his third required stop now to a separate compound. Chooses the softs. Bit of an odd one there. So, the top 3 now, all Honda-powered cars, Red Bull powertrain powered cars, as Showtime Favre atop the grid. Red 92 mask with a 5-second penalty. Remember, that was for the collision entering the pit lane with, I believe it was Gazboy. One of the two, and then finally no, it was Ghost. Yeah, it was the AlphaTauri, and then it was Ghost as well. Those were the 2 drivers involved in that. So the 3 of them stay out on track, as well as the Ferrari of P. Gonzalez. So Lancey goes to the mediums, Cynical to the softs, Jacob to the hards, V to the hards, Slayerize to the mediums, Spaceman has stayed out, Zach to the hards, Caesar to the softs, and that is the end of the pit activity for this safety car. According to YouTube, this stream is still listed as healthy, which is good news. I don't really know what that means, but we're doing good. So safety car will stay out again here. I'm assuming it's just waiting for as... oh, this is interesting. So Cynical into the pit lane and has picked up a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. A very interesting choice to stop again here for Cynical, and he's picked up a 5er on his way in. And he won't even be able to serve it this time. He'll go to a set of hards here. Could it have been just... well, I tell you what he's probably done. He's maybe just... well, I don't know why. I think he may have inadvertently chosen those soft tires, and that's why he's decided to come in again. As Spaceman on his way in, mediums for him. Very interesting decision there. I do not know why, but Cynical has decided to stop it a second time here and has picked up a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. That may delay the safety car proceedings here by another lap. Could be wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's going to come in at the end of the lap here, as we're just waiting for Spaceman making his way up through turns 6 and 7 now. They're going to get to the Sector 3 timing line here shortly, and that'll determine when it comes in. That's exiting turn 11, and no, it has decided to stay out for another lap, unless does it make the late decision once Spaceman rejoins the grid here, which it very could do. And nope, I'm thinking this is going to stay out one more time. Beginning in the 19th lap of the Grand Prix, this one under safety car. This is the halfway point of the race here. Showtime Favre has the lead. Red 92 mask second, Ghost in third. Both of those drivers having 5-second penalties. Gonzalez fourth, and then the driver who spectacularly took the race lead with a triple overtake of Lancey. Back there in P5. Just wondering, I don't think Favre is going to have to pit again. He'll have to go what, 20 laps? Well, sorry, so another... I think the official number would probably be 27 laps on those hard tires, which is, I would say, slightly to incredibly unheard of here. Yeah, that would be quite the task for Favre, but I think, if anything, if he has the chance, he's going to try to do it. I'm assuming now, are we going to get the safety car in this time by? Yes, we will. Not sure why my car came out after I retired, lol. Well, I tell you what, that is a very interesting thing to happen there, but I see it time and time again. If you retire in the pit lane, the car does still come out on track and then make its way towards the nearest marshal post, which in that scenario would have been down the straight, but again, that is so weird. I couldn't tell you. That's the game's decision. Green flag back in the air here. Showtime Favre will lead them. Red 92 mask trying to have a look here, as it looks as if down to the inside is Lancey on Gonzalez through turn 1 and 2. And Lancey's going to have the acceleration there on the left-hand side, get around Gonzalez. Making their way into Curva to Lago now. Gonzalez trying to choose the inside of Lancey, and I tell you what, he may just get it. Or sorry, that was Lancey on Ghost. Goodness me, what am I even looking at anymore? Lancey up to third. I tell you what, he is on a mission. Definitely has the pace to do a lot of good battling happening back there. Nearly a pile-up as we had a couple of drivers kind of late on the brakes. But Favre still leads the Grand Prix here. Lancey needs to get around Red 92 mask. The more he is held up behind the AlphaTauri in question here, the more potential that Favre could pull away, as Slayer Eyes and Caesar were side by side there for the time being. Slayer Eyes does get ahead, is now under pressure from the Williams of Cynical, who had to pit twice under the safety car. V to the inside now, but Lancey crucially to the inside of Red 92 mask, and Lancey is back up into second place. As behind Ghost looking to the outside, he'll have to go almost entirely off track there to try to find a way around. He's gone straight into the back of Lancey and has lost a majority of the, well, he's lost the end plate on the left front side, but that was a hefty impact as P. Gonzalez nearly losing it and crashing, similar to how his teammate retired earlier on in the race, but Ghost losing a fair bit of his front wing there. That's going to be not good for him. He'll have to pit this time by losing spots left and right now, and I'm afraid Slayer Eyes being held up here by the Red Bull in question. Tries it well. I thought he was going to look to the inside. He will now. Up the hill through 6 and 7. Slayer Eyes still having a look as we have a yellow flag at the back. It's Funky Breezy off to the outside. And the track will stay green for the time being. Less than a tenth here. Cynical trying to send it around the outside of both Caesar and the Red Bull of Ghost. And he's done just that. Double overtake around the outside through the Duck's Beak corner of turn 10. Very nicely done. As to the back now, Gonzalez spinning out yet again. This is coming out of turn 11. Sorry, this is... Where even the hell is this? This is coming out of turn 11. And I'm surprised that the game hasn't forcefully reset him to track, being that there's really no barriers off to the inside there. If you slide through one of those fields just enough, the game will automatically reset you to the track, which is not fun. Lancey within 3.5 tenths. Anime Boy getting down the inside of Caesar. It looks as if, as that Ghost has stayed out on track. Yes, he has. I'm sorry, I thought Anime Boy was trying to overtake Caesar. No, Ghost has stayed out there. Despite having the wing damage, he has not pit in order to fix that car. And I tell you what, he is, I don't want to say dreadfully slow, but he is quite the obstacle here, having that much wing damage and still being out on track. Not really sure what the case is with that, but exiting turn 11 now in towards Jun Chao at turn 12. Coming up closer on 10 laps to go. It's 4/10 of a second between the top two. DRS will be activated once they make their way. V getting around Red 92 mask. Down the pit straight they go. Lancey's going to have to look around the outside, and it's going to be easy does it for Lancey. And he'll have that one well before they get to the first corner. Red 92 Mask trying around the outside. Look at that! Was that Slayerized, who'd really tried to pin it around the outside, went well off track outside the white lines, and I'm afraid that car, well, I tell you what, he saw the gap and he went for it, but he was into the paint on the outside of the pit straight, and I think maybe did one of the cars move under braking. There's Anime Boy getting around Caesar there, but I tell you what, he had really sent that one Slayerized. Unfortunately, it has not paid off for him. 0.3 of a second here, trying his best. Is Cynical trying to find a move on Red 92 Mask, this being through turn 9, heading into the Duck's Beak corner of turn 12. Sorry, turn 10. We'll have a look at the penalty tracker now. Cynical and Red 92 Mask both on 5-second penalties. Red 92 Mask for the collision earlier on with, I believe, was it that of Ghost, as has 3 seconds there exiting turn 12. Cynical down to the inside. Cynical picking up his 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. Caesar now gets down the inside of Anime Boy. That's for P7. Slayerized now getting around Zach, that time being on the outside. Slayerized is loving that outside line, and he's got a lot of work to do here after his failed attempts into the first corner last time around. Closest battle on track is that of Anime Boy to Caesar here, only about 5.5 of a second. Lancia has put about 2 seconds on Favre already since overtaking him just a couple of laps ago. Coming up closer yet again to 10 laps to go in a couple of laps' time. Anime Boy within 6.5, 7/10 of a second of Caesar here for the 5th spot. Caesar's getting closer to trying to overtake Red 92 Mask, that being for P6. Although again, he won't need to work too hard. Matter of fact, he will be promoted to P5 if he should even be stayed behind these two. Oh, that was a big wiggle that time for Red 92 Mask exiting Jun Chao. Remember, both these drivers on penalties. Caesar would definitely overtake the both of them. We'll try to have a look now. Will he choose the inside or the outside? Ahead, Cynical getting down to the inside of the Aston Martin of V on their way into the first corner. Caesar, well, actually doesn't choose to make the move at all that time. He's stayed comfortably behind the AlphaTauri in question, and he stays at P7. Matter of fact, this is kind of allowed Anime Boy into this picture, currently residing in 8th, so now Caesar choosing it down to the inside. He'll have it well before Dolago now, as Anime Boy nearly gets into the back of the AlphaTauri that time. That one was very close indeed. Nearly a collision there for the Alpine to the back end of Red 92 Mask. As Ghost setting the fastest lap, it's a 1:10.455 for the Red Bull. He'll be having that extra extra point there if he's able to take home the fastest lap, being on the soft tires as well. It's very much a possibility. But I tell you what, we haven't really seen, at least I haven't commentated on a race which have seen Lancia driven in for quite a little while now, and here we are again. This guy's expertise here and ability is just off the charts, and any time you put him on track, you can expect him to migrate his way up to the top end of the leaderboard, and he's done that again today. Looking behind Zach, a couple of tenths off of Slayerized here, making their way out of Curva del Sol. DRS activated here for the McLaren. Down the straight they go, and well, he's not going to be close enough this time. Coming to the stripe this time will be 10 laps to go as, well, that's just DJ leaving the session again. Unfortunately, the first driver to crash out here. Again, massive impact for him. Couple of tenths here separates V from potentially a podium. I tell you what, he'll need to, well, he doesn't need to get around Cynical and Jacob, but he needs to at least stay within DRS range of the two, and that Aston Martin will have himself 3rd place. 10 laps to go as he gets to the stripe this time by for the Dutchman, who has amassed a 4.5 second advantage over Showtime, who down to the inside is Jacob, and, well, he does have the penalty, but for the time being at least on track, will get around Showtime and put himself into 2nd. I've been calling him Favre this entire time, and my dyslexia must have taken over because that is Favre. It's not Favre or Favre. I'm not rightly sure how to pronounce that, but dyslexia, thank you for that one. Showtime Favre has made his way. He's actually having a halfway decent race. It was kind of a bold decision to try to stay out this long on those hard tires. Again, he'll need to go roughly, what, like 27 laps on those tires to really make them count? It's a really long time to be on the hards. I'm not too sure how he's... Well, if he does hold kind of within this battle here, he'll at least maybe secure second. It's going to depend on if Jacob really starts to pull away. Although for the time being, that doesn't really look like it's the case. Cynical here, 0.2 of a second, is closing in on Showtime. Showtime with DRS to Jacob, but it looks as if Cynical's going to have a good look down to the inside here into the first corner. He will outbrake the Red Bull. Perhaps a little contact there. Side by side now through the Senna S. Cynical's gone well over the curb. Yeah, only just a slight bit of contact there in the way to the first corner as Red 92 mask has gone off. This is exiting turn 1. Unfortunately drops down the order. Slayer Eyes gets down the inside of Anime Boy. That's for P7. And now V trying to find the right-hand side of Showtime up the hill through turns 6 and 7. It's a bold place to make something happen, and V has made that one go very, very well. Nicely done for the Aston Martin and Showtime, who we were hoping could at least hold on to a podium here. Very much falling down the order now. Although Cynical and Jacob still have penalty, I'm not entirely sure that Jacob would lose the spot. Currently resides at 4.5 behind Lancey. Showtime about 6.5. So Showtime has about a second to play with here before he is outside the window of being on the podium. It's a dangerous game to play. Again, he's trying to go the whole way on this one set of tires. It's a bold strategy. To the inside now looks Cynical on Jacob. And now, yep, Cynical second place for the time being. Bit of a wiggle there for Jacob as he exits turn 1, and another one there exiting turn 3. Will be under pressure this time from the Aston Martin. Tell you what, this is helping Showtime at least, because at least he might be able to get P4, but Cynical ahead. Well, I tell you what, he may still finish the podium. Cynical is not really ahead at this point. There's a yellow flag. It's the Alfa Romeo Funky Breezy spinning it, coming out of Jun Chao, turn 12. The gap from the leader. Yeah, so for the time being, Favre is still within the gap to overtake both Cynical and Jacob. Although, I tell you what, being on the tires that he is on, if he loses DRS, it's not going to stay that way for very long. Through Jun Chao they go. This 4-car battle here, 4 or 5-car battle, is the closest battles on track. Not to mention, Caesar's starting to kind of make his way to this as well. 12-lap old softs. Those aren't going to last very long, but yeah, and Caesar's not really coming any closer to this battle as well either. He's lost about a half a second there. Albeit the 4 drivers ahead do have DRS to each other. As out of the pit lane now goes, I believe that is the Alfa Romeo of Funky Breezy there, who has hit an additional time. Coming up closer to 5 laps to go here in the Brazilian Grand Prix. Keep in mind, Miami next week, Imola the week after, and Baku the week after that. 3 very good races coming up here in the Monkey Mafia Esports Series. Should be a very fun one. Especially when we get to Baku, man. I am really excited for that race. Baku, one of the most hectic tracks on schedule, being that there's so little grip around that street circuit. It's weird. Even on the soft tires, it feels like you're just driving on ice on that track in the dry conditions. So Lancey around the line now, beginning the 31st lap of the Grand Prix. Cynical 4 seconds behind, although he's done quite well to kind of put about 7/10 behind the Jacob. So for the time being, let's have a look again at the intervals here. So Cynical sits at 3.5 behind Lancey. Favre sits about 6. behind that of Lancey as well. So, and what's that, 3 from Cynical down? So for the time being, Favre will still get that 3rd spot. V will still get 2nd. Unless perhaps, as we have a yellow flag, this time being the Ferrari of P. Gonzalez spinning it, coming out of Jun Chao. Unless perhaps, do we see some of these drivers really start to pull away in this battle? What I will say, though, is this. Favre is now outside of DRS range on the Aston Martin ahead. That could prove to be very difficult for him. Again, the amount of time he has spent on these tires is ridiculous. Lancey coming around the line now. It'll be 5 laps to go at the stripe now. Well, I will say this, though. That gap between Cynical and Lancey was outside of 4.5 seconds not that long ago. Cynical has made up about a second here. And I'm just looking to see 15-lap-old mediums for Lancey. That is going to be getting uncomfortable for him. Cynical on the hards, of course, those are 14 laps as well, so they'll be better, but they won't be, necessarily good, as somewhere in the proceedings there, Favre has actually fallen outside of now 2.5, nearly 3 seconds. Back to the Aston Martin of we have a virtual safety car on track. As Anime Boy perhaps took a trip into the barriers, exiting the first corner. Yep, that front wing is gone on the Alpine in question. Still just the virtual safety car. No full safety car probably at this point, which is a helpful sight to see. So Lancey will come around the line. He'll have 4 laps to go this time by 33, 34, 35, and 36. Lancey, what's I don't want to say has been a dominant day, has Slayerized a drive-through for speeding under the virtual safety car. And we are still under said virtual safety car as well. Sometimes you see drivers get caught out by trying to beat the Delta as the VSC ends. That's not the case. This is purely just speeding by the Haas. Doesn't appear that the VSC is still in. As Favre will get, Showtime will get 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. Not even be allowed to serve that under this stop. It's soft tires here for Showtime. As Anime Boy now 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. A lot of pit lane speeding penalties today, which is, not too common. As ahead we see, well, this is interesting here. I'm sure if you're Jacob, this is completely obnoxious, as trying to battle with Funky Breezy is ahead as well. Cynical having to deal with the Ferrari of P. Gonzalez. That is a very interesting turn of events. Having to drive with the ghosted drivers in and around you. Well, specifically in. Ghosted Anime Boy. Oh, Anime Boy! Well, he's lost it. Well, that was interesting. That car, and the full safety car out on track. Now, we were along with him, had lost it in the pit lane. The car had been reset to the outside, and the safety car on track. Not to mention, we'll have 3 laps to go, this time by Lancey on his way in, only having a 5-second advantage over that of Cynical. What kind of stop is this? Cynical pits as well. As Red 92 Mask could drive through for speeding under the virtual speeding under the full safety car. Jacob stays out. V stays out. Lancey will make his way back out. He'll be sitting probably P4. Once Slayerize gets Slayerize will have the drive through. Red 92 Mask picking up a drive through as well. A little bit bold to see these drivers pitting under the safety car here with only 3 laps to go. Red 92 Mask, unfortunately, DNFing, that being in the pit lane, so we're down to 12 on the grid now. So Jacob will be leading the grid back to green here. Lancey will need to get around at least the Aston Martin ahead of V if he wants to still take the win of the Grand Prix. Safety car still out on track. Go ahead and stop the hard recording and restart it here. You can only really import files 20 minutes in length is what I've figured out, so I do start it and stop it much more frequently than I used to. As the safety car now, does it decide to come in? No! Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay, a little bit of a late decision there, at least for my standards. Usually it'll be pretty much at or immediately around the Sector 2 timing line there on the way into turn 12. So, safety car on its way in here. Lancey ahead, behind rather, having the better tires than V, but if he doesn't get off to a good start or a mistake is made, he will have certainly lost out on this win. As a couple of drivers making their way in to serve their pit lane speeding penalties. 2 laps to go as green flag back in the air. V trying his best already, really close to the back end of Jacob, going through the first couple of corners. Lancey has to be careful here as, we've got the Red Bull of Showtime off at the back to the inside of Lancey. Remember, this is for the win of the Grand Prix here, and now V will choose to defend the inside. Lancey will have to go around the outside. Contact made ahead, and the Aston Martin nearly slips out of position, and now Lancey around the outside. Still side by side. Lancey's going to try to get both of them up the hill through 6 and 7. He'll at least get the Aston Martin, and, that was the important move to be made there, as Lancey now within position to win the Grand Prix. Cynical, however, as well, in this battle. And Cynical on the fresh softs as well. Should Lancey be held up any further by the McLaren ahead, down into turn 10 they go. It very much could be. We see Cynical have a say in how the result goes here. Well, that looked as if it was a little bit of contact there from V back to Jacob. Final lap of the Grand Prix about to be underway now. Lancey has a comfortable lead, but now the battle between V and Cynical here. They're going to be side by side, making their way down the pit straight, and Cynical with the fresh soft tires. Unfortunately, that's just not really going to be a competitive challenge there from V, not by his fault, but the tires are just better in Cynical's favor, and now Cynical having to work getting down the inside of Jacob. And Cynical has moved his way up to second, but Lancey already ahead to a 2.5 seconds advantage. Unfortunately, I think that may just be it, and the Dutchman will walk away with one here, and he has right-earned it as well. We talk about Lancey being very talented and sometimes walking away with these Grand Prix as V down to the inside of Jacob. Sometimes we see that happen. Not necessarily today. Lancey really had to work for it. Made a beautiful triple overtake as well at one point, which I'm sure he's going to be clipping somewhere. As V getting to the inside of Jacob, and that's pretty much going to secure the podium 3 unless does Caesar get involved in this somehow. Well, Lancey making his way through turns 14 and 15 here for the final time. It's been a race to remember here from the Dutchman. 20 minutes before the race, he said he was washed. But what he is the winner of the Brazilian Grand Prix and the fastest lap to boot. Nicely done for Lancey. Cynical second. V gets third, and then, spins and kind of, crashes going down the pit straight. V will be third. Fourth will be Caesar. Great bounce-back result from him. Does finish a spot lower, but Jacob 5th, Zach 6th. Halfway decent result there for the McLaren team, P5 and P6. Zach up 6 spots. Spaceman will improve 8 and finish 7th. That's a great result for Spaceman there. Hats off to him. Favre will get 8th. Ghost will get 9th. Slayer Eyes, who picks up a 20-second penalty for not serving his drive-through, will mean he will probably finish P11 there unless Funky Breezy gets around the line within enough time, and yes, he does. So, Lancey, your winner today. Very entertaining Brazilian Grand Prix there. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you this time out here in Brazil. Be sure to check us out next week when we head to Miami for the 4th round of the Monkey Mafia esports season. We'll see you next time.